Happy 2017, everyone. Greg had a good time, and we hope you all had a great holiday weekend. A ton of news to break down tonight. We begin with the Russian hacking controversy. The Obama administration has implicated Moscow for disrupting our election. But on New Year's Eve, our president-elect expressed doubts that Russia was to blame for cyber attacks on Democratic Party officials.
And I know a lot about hacking, and hacking is a very hard thing to prove. So it could be somebody else. And I also know things that other people don't know, and so they cannot be sure of this situation.
Like what? What do you know that other people don't know?
You'll find out on Tuesday or Wednesday.
The founder of WikiLeaks adamantly denies Russia was his source for hacked emails his group released before the election. Here's Julian Assange in an exclusive interview with Sean Hannity that airs tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Can you say to the American people unequivocally that you did not get this information about the DNC, John Podesta's emails? Can you tell the American people 1,000% you did not get it from Russia or anybody associated with Russia?
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
Okay, so a big interview, an exclusive, Eric, with Julian Assange. Sean Hannity sat down with them, echoing the same statements that he's made before, which is that he said that the Russians were not his source for those hacked, leaked materials.
And also, he clarified even further and said, and not a state player, not a state actor, which would tell you, they couldn't, or if you believe Julian Assange, they wouldn't have used an outside source to leak this. In other words, they get the information, they hack, and they hand it over, but financed by the Russian government. If you believe what you heard right there, which I do. I honestly, I've maintained from the very beginning, this is about, it could even be a leak. It could even be an inside leak from within the DNC. Some of the stuff was there was some phishing scams going on, where Podesta actually opened an email, open here for, this great offer. You open it and it ends up eating into their data. But if Julian Assange and WikiLeaks is all about transparency, is all about bringing truth to life, right? Then you would have to believe that it didn't come from the Russians. My biggest problem was that was McCain and Lindsey Graham saying they're going to lead the next Congress into more strident and stringent sanctions against the Russians before we even know what the evidence is.
Okay, so Dana, there's an investigation that is underway. Obviously, it would make sense to be able to get the full amount of information from the variety of agencies before making a factual determination one way or the other.
I just find this whole thing totally bewildering. And I don't understand, actually, I had a question. So you said that if Assange says, because WikiLeaks is supposed to be about transparency, if what Assange says we should take as
well, I mean, if you believe what he's about, leaking truth, in other words, exposing truth. I mean, I haven't seen any, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen anything where WikiLeaks has actually brought something out that was inaccurate. They're just leaking information.
How about the fact the guy is a fugitive from 2 sex assault charges, and he's been hiding away in the Ecuadorian embassy in London?
Yeah, again,
and I wouldn't believe this guy if he said today was Tuesday.
Inaccurate. Well, that's a different story. Listen, I don't disagree with you on a personal level, but everything he's done that I know of, and I may be wrong, that I know of has been leaking information.
You believe him because you like what he leaked. You did not believe him when it was Edward Snowden or Bradley Manning or the video of the Tower Apache chopper.
Escuchen, por favor.
Okay.
I'm pro-Snowden as well.
Here's the maybe what he leaked was the truth, but he leaked the names of Afghans who were helping us fight the Taliban. So it may have been true, but he screwed over a lot of people and put people's lives in danger. The bottom line is, Assange went from from a zero to a hero among the right because he's screwing over Obama. Bottom line, there's nothing, that's all it is.
Well, and Hillary.
Yeah, that's exactly. But there's a difference between hacking and phishing. Hacking is you break into somebody's safe and you steal their money. Phishing is when you steal somebody's bicycle because they left that out in front of a liquor store. So we have to define what we're talking about. This may not be hacking, it may be phishing, but that's separate from Assange. We can't, we have to understand Assange is playing us and will play us. When he has information on Fox, when he has information on Trump, he's going to use it too, and we're all going to be like, wow, what a bunch of suckers we were.
Well, or being consistent, saying, yeah, wow, that sucks that he did that, but again, show me the inaccuracies.
I wonder what your tone would be if it was the RNC instead of the DNC.
In fact, before, Greg's 100% right, and I'm guilty of this from day one. When we first learned about WikiLeaks, I was like, wow, this is terrible. This guy's awful. And now I'm saying I have a different tone, but I'm being consistent here. I like
he allegedly raped 2 interns.
Geraldo, that has nothing to do with what he's leaking.
Has nothing to do with it.
I'm not saying a stand-up guy, and I want to go on vacation with him.
Dirty scumbag.
Okay, so are you accusing him of leaking anything inaccurate?
I am accusing him of being anti-American. I believe that he has in his interest to undermine the American democracy, and he chose to do it this way. I think that Snowden is also anti-American.
On that one.
All right, well, the WikiLeaks founder also offered some insight on why he thinks the Obama administration is pinning the hacking on Russia. Here's more from Sean's exclusive interview with Julian Assange.
Our publications had wide uptake by the American people. They're all true. But that's not the allegation that is being presented by the Obama White House. So why such a dramatic response? Well, the reason is obvious. They're trying to delegitimize Trump administration as it goes into the White House. They are trying to say that President-elect Trump is not a legitimate president.
All right, Dana, your reaction to that aspect of it, saying this is Obama being sort of covert and trying to pin this on
I think a couple of things
for Trump. Okay.
But I missed the joke. Was there a joke?
No,
I missed it. Okay.
No, yes.
Tell me in the break?
Yes.
Okay. I think that part of this could be true, right? So it would behoove the Democrats to be able to pin their devastating loss on something other than Hillary's bad campaign and that she was a bad candidate.
Sure.
In my mind, like if you're trying to justify a loss and explain to your donors why you blew $1 billion on an ultimately a winnable race, and she didn't even go to Wisconsin, like all of those things, it would help you, I guess, to say, well, look, the Russians hacked in the DNC, therefore the Russians are going to be punished, and the Democrats can comfort themselves with the thought that that's why they lost the election. I think that could possibly be true, but I also think that we know from President Obama that he knew in October something was going on with the Russians, because he tells us later that he told Putin to knock it off. I don't know if Putin did or didn't. That's the other thing that's so frustrating about this, is that it's the politicization of intelligence, and it's putting me and other people, I think, in a strangely uncomfortable partisan position. I don't know what the truth is. If Donald Trump says he has more information or different information than the intel community, they're maybe going to get together this week. I don't even know how much of that they could tell us anyway.
But there's one positive thing to get out of this, and that is we're finally, if we get past the politics, and we get in and Trump's president, everybody's kind of calming down, we can focus on the nature of the threat. Thank God this was some kind of low-level phishing, and it could have been worse. We have to start thinking about what this means. The larger scope of technology and terror, when you have rogue nations and isolated agents like ISIS who can paralyze and pulverize our systems. Sure. It's at least now we're being pointed in the right direction, even if this was just a bunch of guys fishing with like emails about,
Well, we should be concerned, right, about our cybersecurity and any kind of threats, and anyone who would choose to try to influence the United States presidential election or interfere with our government process to begin with. But there is information about China hacking into the White House before. What was done about that? So when you look at the reciprocity and in terms of their reaction and actions towards it, where were all the sanctions then against China?
But maybe there were actions, but they didn't announce them. So why the announcement of this one is strange. I do think also it's worth reading, if people have a chance to go back. Last week in the Wall Street Journal, there was an op-ed by a guy named Edward J. Epstein, and it was called The Fable of Ed Snowden. And it does this interesting, his analysis of a connection between Snowden and Assange, and how Assange sent his deputy to Hong Kong to take Snowden back to Russia. So I can see where if you're sitting at the White House, you're thinking, why can't people see this, obviously for what it is? But there's just no trust with the intelligence community, so I don't know how much more that they could tell us and show us.
They could give us the exact, in other words, right now we're understanding that 17 intelligence agencies have information that led them to believe that the Russians hacked the DNC. And
they have forensic.
Yeah, but they won't show us. Not one has shown us what they have, Geraldo, and that's the point.
But maybe
now we have a guy who leaked them saying, They're wrong. There is no Russian attachment to this.
Let's assume for a second that Assange is telling the literal truth. It was not a state actor. If Vladimir Putin gets 100 bright Russian cyber kids and gives them the highest powered, high voltage, high octane Mac computer and says, go do this to Podesta's Gmail, and it's not the KGB. I mean, he could literally be finessing the truth.
That would be a state actor. That would be Vladimir Putin as president of Russia.
Do you disbelieve the president of the United States and these intelligence agencies when they say with confidence that it was the Russians who did it and they have the Cyrillic keyboard and all the rest of it? Do you disbelieve our president and our intelligence agency? Answer that.
Well, let me answer you this way. I also believe that we weren't being data mined by the NSA, every single American, until Edward Snowden whistleblew and said, guess what? They go around Fiserv and every single American's data is being mined illegally. Well, I didn't know that either. I trusted them then, too.
Take his point. Now we're all settled. Everybody's in office. God bless the 45th President of the United States. How concerned are you now about cybersecurity?
Oh, by the way, your scenario where Putin has 100 of their best and brightest is probably one of 100 countries doing the exact same thing.
I don't disagree.
Well, okay, here's how you can look at WikiLeaks.
But how the new president's going to handle it.
Ultimately, WikiLeaks is a conduit for extortion. All right? Someone phishes you. Someone phishes you, then goes to you and demands money. You say no. The phisher can actually give it to WikiLeaks and Assange because, therefore, their hands are clean. And Assange goes, I'm all about transparency. I'm going to screw you over.
Do we have that, though? Do we have any evidence of someone saying, I got this Podesta?
But I mean, okay, but
if you don't give me money,
but your argument is like you would rather trust Assange than our military intelligence. No, we have conservatives that are now basically smearing our intelligence.
In one hand, with Assange, I have proof. I see emails, I see names with emails. On the other hand, 17 intelligence agencies that tell us, trust us, it happened. Meanwhile, no one's willing to step up and say, here's one shred of evidence.
With all due respect, nor has the
Well, we have to see, though, in fact, if he does that, because we have to give him a chance to get into office where it's his, it's appropriate for him.
He said it would happen today or tomorrow.
Right, he did say that, but we also have to see what's happening behind the scenes in terms of when he's going to proffer that kind of evidence and support and what he decides to tell the American people. And maybe he waits till he takes office.
I'm front and center saying sanction them. Harder sanctions than these toothless sanctions we've offered so far.
I have advice to Chelsea Manning. Start bashing Obama. The Republicans are going to love you.
Yeah, well, he's actually requesting that President Obama pardon him, right? Him.
Well, that's a mistake. She should actually. She should say that she believes that Donald Trump is doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden we'll love Chelsea Manning, just the way we now love Assange.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.